So what we'd like to do today is, or what we'd like to do now is to consider then, what are the factors that help us to explain how this market becomes as irrational as apparently it became. In fact, we know it was irrational because the market collapsed catastrophically in 2007. And we go back and we look at this and we think, what were people thinking? And some of us go back and think, what was I thinking? Because not all of us can exempt ourselves from the madness that took hold. So what do we want to focus on in terms of explaining how the market got this way? Okay, so we can start by saying, I think it's a very basic observation. Clearly, we're looking at a question of market psychology, right? There's a psychology here that's afflicting the market, and we need to interrogate what that psychology is. So what is the psychology of this market? Where does it come from? How does it take shape? What are the factors that are behind it, and so on? So what is the psychology of the market? Where are people, what's sort of defining how people are thinking about this market?
I think that buying will only happen in an increasing trend, because if you look at it from the other perspective and the prices are going down, your incentive is to wait. So you will not buy. The buying will happen only once the prices start increasing. So I think if each individual starts thinking in this way, probably that is what is going to end up in a bubble.
A herd mentality. Is that what you're saying? So we're following the herd? Is that what's happening? Everybody else is doing it, I need to do it too. We discussed before this idea of opportunity costs, that sense of urgency. I need to act now. If I wait even another year, prices are going to get more expensive. They talk about it in the UK, for example, as being the bottom rung of the ladder. Get on the ladder now. If you wait, it's going to be even more expensive, harder to get on the ladder, and so on. And that sense of urgency then, yes, is underscored by the idea that there's a sort of everybody else is doing it. I need to get in on this as well. So yes, certainly people are seeing a trend out in the marketplace. I need to jump in on that trend. But the nature of the good, it's curious. I mean, in some ways, wouldn't we predict, given how expensive it is, that people would undertake even more due diligence than they might otherwise? I mean, if you were going to, say, buy a certain amount of a share or a stock or something like that, you would, you'd think, okay, well, I think the company's going to do well, and I expect price appreciation in the share. Maybe you put in, what, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 as an average retail investor. Now you're putting in hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're indenturing yourself to a bank through a mortgage for like 15, 20, 25 years. Don't you think that you would?
I think they think they did.
They think they did. Okay, so that's certainly true. That one of the things about the market psychology is it gives people the impression that they've done the necessary due diligence to make that purchase seem informed.
From after the worst of 1988, there was a constant increase in the housing prices.
Well, so houses go down and then they stay flat, and then starting in 1996, you certainly see them coming back up again. But in other words, when people are sitting there saying, one of the things that I know about this market is I've seen past results. As we all know, past results are a guarantee of future results. Where are they getting that idea of past results? Like, where is that experience coming from?
Majority of them was second-time buyers.
So some of them is from their own experience. I have a house that's increased in value. I'm going to buy another house that will increase in value more. That's certainly true. Where else are they getting that kind of sense of, let's call it a sense of protection even? I know that the price will go up because I can simply map onto the past and to the future.
The prices are actually increasing, but they're increasing with income. So the nominal
are the prices increasing with income?
They will increase overall on long term with income because they're proportional.
Yeah, that's true. Well, okay, we can back up for a moment.
The real price is not increasing, but the nominal price.
The nominal price is increasing. The thing is, right, I mean, it's pretty clear, very basic mechanics of what drives a housing market. What are the two fundamental macro factors that drive housing prices in the long term? Interest rates and income, right? How much money am I making, i.e. to put towards the house? And how much does it cost to borrow the money that I don't have? So between those two categories, I mean, there's obviously other factors that play in, but in the very large sense, if you want to look at overall trends in housing, they follow basically the price to carry debt and the amount of money that you make. So national income and national interest rates, that's certainly true. How many of our home buyers, though, do you think were saying, I'm going to buy a house. First, I want to go and investigate current trends in national income and do I'm going to pull some graph paper out, or maybe, do some regressions and see what comes up. I mean, do you think people were informing themselves in that way?
I think they trust the banks to do that.
Okay, so somebody else is going to do that. That's hard. That's math. I mean, that's like, maybe some linear algebra. Whoa. It's economics, it's tough. But I'm asking where this prior experience comes from. In other words, Simone tells us that one of the things that sort of is a source of comfort for people is they can look at this market and get a sense that they know where it's going because they've seen where it's come from. So some of them themselves have personal experience, but where else are they getting that sense from?
They're just hearing what people are saying.
Yeah, experience of other people, right? So, you know, your sister has a friend whose doctor's sister bought a house and it doubled in value in 2 years, or there's the guy down the street who just sold his house for like 40% more than he bought it only 9 months ago, or whatever, right? So there's all these experiences around you, this accumulated anecdotal evidence that is typical of a hot market in which you're hearing these success stories. And one of the reasons for that, I think, is that when you are in a hot market, when you're in a market like this and you benefit from that, what do you want to do? Brag about it. Tell people about it, right? I mean, people like that. So look at me. I'm an expert investor. I bought this property, and then 9 months later, I sold it for 30% more. Look at me, right? This guy right here. And so, you know, people accumulate these kinds of success stories anecdotally, in part because I think it's part of our nature. It goes back to this idea of the market psychology. One of the features of the psychology of the market is it's being reinforced by these kinds of success stories. And so people are hearing about this, and that informs, I think, a little bit this idea of they know where the market's going. You had your hand up.
I think people tend to listen to what they want, even though there are positive and negative information available in the market.
Yeah, so one of the things clearly that's going on here is that people are selecting the information that they want. We're going to get into that a little bit. I suspect that one thing people did not do was to go to their local library, pull out the most recent edition of the Brookings Institute journal and read Case and Schiller's argument, and then go to the next dinner party and say, well, actually, listen, I was looking at some econometrics the other day, and if you'll just draw some graphs for people and then prove to them, you know, statistically, housing prices are out of whack. That's probably not what they're going to do. What they are going to do is say, yeah, my dentist told me he just sold his house for 40% more than he paid for it 2 years ago. I'm like, yes?
I think you kind of said it, but we didn't say it explicitly, but also they get comfort from the fact that the bank is willing to put that money in. So they've been loaning the money.
The banker is willing to give them the money, a very critical factor. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. Yes?
Actually, the government is incentivizing through tax incentives to buy the house, so it's actually pay to buy the house. It's good.
In the United States, it's true because a mortgage is actually deductible off of pre-tax income, which is another factor that we'd put under the idea of opportunity costs. Every year that I'm paying rent is a year that I'm paying more taxes than I should, because what I really ought to be doing is sort of capturing that wealth via sort of this tax preferred or tax advantage scheme, and so that's sort of, you know, why would I want to just sort of throw my money away when I could be actually accumulating it in this asset and watching it grow. And I should also note that governments are also perhaps promoting policies, you know, prosperity society and so on. So there's this kind of larger national rhetoric about the value of home ownership. At the same time, I think it's also worth noting that this is not a US story, is it? Not, I mean, the housing bubble was not an American phenomenon. Those of us in the room who are from the UK or from Ireland or Dubai or Vilnius or Barcelona or any of the other places during this period that underwent housing bubbles, we're seeing, in fact, really a global story. We just happen to be accessing that story through its iteration in the US. But it's not as if this is an American phenomenon by any means, is it?